I think this is her most recent PR. So we're going to ask about the lithium mine. All right. And pause this, if you're watching this, just so if you want to read through this, or just go on otcmarkets.com, where you should always start your due diligence. Filings, news releases, share structure, it's all there for your eyes and your mind. Right now, they're sitting at a market cap of 35 million. They have about 7 billion outstanding shares. This is a typical OTC structure, but this is moving very nicely. I do want to highlight this. No convertible notes. Isn't that a breath of fresh air? All right, so that is one thing that and we actually talked about this one at Dub 3, and it's already over half a penny. So if you've been following us, hey, you should be up on this one, but I think this one could go to the moon. Did they just say that? Nah. Hey, I think this is going to be we're going to have some nice return to going to the moon. Just saying. I'm kidding, folks. Here's the chart. It looks freaking gorgeous. And you had the 5,200 cross, and now here we are. All right, and I think we're going to continue to see this pattern based on the buys that are happening in the insider support. And so I don't want to waste any more time. I want to bring Roxy in, and let's welcome her. Roxy, welcome back to the BFC. How you doing?
I am doing great, Eric. Can you hear me okay?
I can. I want you to explain to people. I know usually when we talk or I cover Roxy Green, it has to do with Hollywell, ticker HWAL, which has a lot in store, in my opinion. I think that's going to be another winner of 2026. But explain your role with HIRU, as I call it, and look at this gorgeous chart. And are we going to see more of this? I know you can't predict these things. And remember, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Roxy, floor is yours.
Well, first of all, thank you, Eric, for inviting me to talk about HIRU. And yes, I was brought in to help this company. So I'm not going to talk about operations. I'm not going to talk about financials. I'm going to talk about strategy of this company, which is what really lured me in to come in and help the company and stateside. This is a very unique company in that it is funded and managed by investors from the royal family of Qatar and other Qatarian and other large investment firms and investors from the Middle East. So when I was asked to come in with my team, our team here stateside, it was to really help them advance because it's the first U.S. publicly traded company that the royal family of Qatar actually holds interest in. So we are really the bridge between America and the Middle East for all the activities. But most of the heavy lifting is done by the management that I get to work with every day and support. So, I mean, they have a very stringent strategy. They are a holding company, and what they specifically invest into is precious metals and oil and gas and other energy properties and critical minerals. They're very specific to their investments. There is no debt on the company. It is self-funded by the investors and the founders of this company. And that'll continue to be the case. And that's how they're growing. The companies, they continue to support through their network of institutional investors, family offices. So what you're seeing right now is continue equity purchasing through the market and to continue to support the growth of this company, which you will continue to see.
Okay. Because when I look at the chart, I'm going to go back to the chart for a second. And this one I've been watching since it was in the trips, and you sort of like, you want to see things play out in real time. And so I felt it was time to at least mention it on BFC because it had that nice retraction to Dub 3, the upper twos. And I was like, okay, based on the stock performance, insider support, and how things are moving and the catalysts that they're dropping, the news consistency, the change, and the fact that they brought you on, which was a familiar name, I go, okay. And I especially felt comfortable because I look at the HWAL example and the fact that you guys eradicated and had a settlement on your only convertible note. Correct. And that this one has no convertible notes. So I'm not going to ask you what price is this going to. Should we expect to see more of the continued support throughout quarter one and quarter two that we've seen so far leading into 2026?
Well, let me ask you answer the question with asking you a question. Have you seen the price of silver and its growth? Are you watching
yeah.
the price of gold? So this group of investors are some of the wealthiest investors in the world. I mean, they are really focused on buying critical minerals and rare earth minerals and diverse energy properties. I mean, that's their only agenda. And at the end of the day, it's all real world assets, right? So they're putting their money where the mouth is. So we continue to see the growth. I would say absolutely yes. And the thing that I wanted to talk about on this call today, which is, and this I will talk about. And by the way, when I was brought in, I have a team that I work with here in the U.S. It's a great body of men and women that are experts. They're legal minded, they're financial minded, and so it's a consortium. Yes, my name's there as the secretary, but there's a team of us that's been part of this company's. Let's just call it rebuild, rebirth, because this management and this ownership group came in the latter part of 24 and 25. It took them a little time, year 25, to kind of figure out how to restart this company with the assets that they moved in, which was Premier Copper and other assets in Australia that they merged in almost immediately of taking control. And since then, they have now announced other acquisitions, which they're in the process of making and completing, which is 5,200 daily barrels of oil in Canada, silver mine here in the States in Nevada, which has about 45 million ounces, and then lithium holdings in Australia and Argentina. I mean, they're very focused. I think that what I'd like to say to all investors, both retail investors and to all stakeholders, I think what everyone should be doing is buying as much as they can get of this stock, because what's supporting behind this stock is real world assets. Okay. And as those minerals come out of the ground, it's going to throw off tremendous dividends to the shareholders. I mean, that's what investors invest money for. They invest their money for either appreciation for the investments they're making, such as the stock, and potentially future dividends, stock and cash. This company is formally prepared so that by the end of this year, at the latest, it could be by mid-year. I won't make that prediction, but their objective is to start pulling the reserves out of the ground slowly with tremendous partners, mining partners from around the globe. And that will present cash dividends to the HIRU shareholders. I mean, that is their objective.
Right on. Unboxings are active question asker tonight. Are they cash flow positive? And I actually, after this question, I had a question in regards to the mines themselves, but if you're going to,
the difference is of how HIRU is going about making acquisitions is extremely prudent. They're not buying startups. They are buying into going concern mining operations. For example, in Canada, the oil is producing 5,200 barrels a day. So yeah. Same thing with the lithium mines. They're actually buying an interest. Patagonia is how you say it. Patagonia is actually an Australian publicly traded company on the Australian exchange. So that investment is an investment into the stock of the company and all the operations of that company, which includes obviously lithium mining interests in Australia, but also in Argentina, which is one of the richest lithium mining regions in the world. So again, we're not talking about, this is not a traditional OTC market company. Okay. We're talking about the royal family of Qatar and the full weight of their network of professionals, whether it's auditors or commercial banks. It's incredible. And again, they are buying interest into going concerns, very successful, profitable enterprises.
Right on. I want to ask a question into, by the way, if you can't hear it, there's a nice, the snow blowers are going. Like I'm like, there's snow hitting my house and ice hitting my house. And that's why if you guys watched me like turn and look, it's because it's starting to pick up. so it's like there's excitement happening outside. I'm like, look, squirrel, look, snow. Oh my gosh. But I gotta say, yeah, it's chilly up here, by the way, Roxy.
Same here, Eric. You know, I'm down near DC right now, and we already have 8 inches on the ground. So um, I'm not going anywhere. So I'm here to answer any questions shareholders may have, or
No, right on.
if,
Guys, if you have any questions,
if I'm allowed to answer them, by the way.
please. Oh yeah, put them in the chat if you guys have any questions. You know, I know it's a light crowd today because of the football game, but I said, they're like, you're really gonna go. Somebody asked me, I think it was Jess. We were talking. He goes, you're really, you know, Jamie. You've talked to Jamie. You're gonna go live during Sunday football. I go, dude, the Bills lost. My mind is not there anymore. All right, that's why we didn't go live last week. By the way, is because I had to watch my Bills eat it. But I do have a question, an important question in regards to the actual the mines themselves. A lot of these mines, you know, they do their surveys and maybe there's something there. And a lot of times you see these mines and they go in and out of these tickers. What is special about the mines that are being acquired by HIRU, and are they going to be active and are they going to be producing? I mean, because it mentioned in the one PR, I said up to, was it to do 100 million per year possibly based on one of those mines?
Well, I want to be careful because I'm not the CFO here, and I'm not the technical one that starts talking about specific reserves. I leave that to the next call when we'll bring those folks from our camp in.
Oh yeah, bring them on.
But what I do want to say is, prior to this company looking at any company to acquire an interest in, they look for a few things. Obviously, they look for the correct reports to see what has already been, analyzed to the reserves that are in the ground. Number one, if it's a non-performing mine, which is the case with our silver mines, by the way. It's one of those companies that's got to move between companies. However, with the oil and gas operations in Canada, they're producing. The lithium mines are producing. So again, I'm not going to get in the weeds of discussions about those specific mining operations because I don't have the knowledge to speak tonight about those things. But what I can say about this group that manages the operations of HIRU, the advisors, consultants, and team members that works in front of every transaction, they are auditors, they are engineers, and they've been in this space of buying and selling petro companies and other mining operations for decades. So they're the expert. I can assure you, this company is not putting a letter of intent together or MOU or even a definitive agreement together without them knowing that it's a very substantial opportunity. That's not their business. None of us have time to waste here. Okay. So again, all I can say for any investor, future investor, do your due diligence. I think our press releases and our filings are really technically stated because it is that side of the company that is writing these press releases. They're specifically giving the parameters of every mining interest or oil and gas exploration opportunities that we're acquiring. So do your research, read the reports if you want to be that technical. I will say this to you again. We've been very direct in our announcements. Our whole interest in building this company is for future cash dividends for our shareholders. I'll give you an example of this. I did some mathematics. Now, again,
Are you addressing Barlito right now?
Me?
Oh yes, because he did ask. I didn't know if you were going to talk about, you know, the dividend. I mean, you're talking about dividend potential, but he did ask, are share buybacks still a possibility? And thank you for your time. Very excited to own shares.
Well, I think that's what you're seeing right now, guys. A lot of the buying now is the buying the buying that's going on is now we have institutionals buying, okay, and they're certainly buying to buy up. And you asked me, will this continue? The answer is absolutely, because let me be careful what I say here. The institutional buying that's coming in, and I know it's institutional, they certainly know the potential value to this price of the stock and the dividends, of course. And you will continue to see that. I mean, let me give you analysis of something. And again, I'm not a CPA. Let me preface this. I'm not a CFO, but let's just look at something. Okay. The silver mine, as example, has 45 million ounces of silver. We know from our reporting in the mine pits and a little bit underground. Okay. That's 4.5 million at $100 an ounce right now of silver. Let's just use that. And I think it's probably 105 today. Where in China it was at 125. So let's just use 100. Okay. That's $4.5 billion of potential reserves that we can get to take out of the ground. If we only take 1% of that out of the ground in the first year, okay, that's $450 million of revenue. Across all of our shareholders, that is it's 6.5 cents, okay, a share. Now if you take the lithium mines, forgive me, it's 6.5 tenths of a cent. Forgive me, okay. If you take the lithium mines, which has about 7 billion in reserves, okay, and you do the same thing, and you only brought 1% out, okay, that's a penny a share dividend, just 1%. So we're trading at a half a penny. Let's just look at the practicality. And I would tell all investors all right now, okay, is that every one of these mines could be producing minimally, potentially, a penny a share, okay, to the shareholders. And we're trading at half a penny. So why would you not buy the shares right now, even if it's just for the dividends? 3 operations minimally, oil and gas, lithium, and silver. And silver each could throw off a half a penny, okay, or a penny a shareholder, okay, a share. So
that's crazy.
So again, and that's only 1%. 1%.
Would you say we're gonna approach that this year at some point? Is that well? No, I'm not even talking. I know you're talking about the dividends structure of it. Are we going to be able to? Are dividends more 2027, or are we looking at that for this year?
I think dividends could be. We could look at it by fourth quarter of 26. The way the companies are moving.
Wow.
With, and they've already announced, for example. I mean, we have.
So you're talking about the ratio of a penny per share dividend times 3 different operations. That's per lithium mine. That's per. And that's only if we only bring up 1% of the reserves out of the ground a year, which is a small number. It throws a dividend of a penny a share, potentially. Okay. Remember, we already have operations that are already generating revenue, like the oil and gas. Same thing with the oil and gas. And the oil and gas is not a penny a share. It's a penny and a half a share. And that's already producing. So do I suspect that the company could present cash dividends by fourth quarter at the end of this year? Absolutely. That is its intention. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's like saying this is going to be a really, really good year. By the way, just for transparency purposes, I have I think it's 1.2 million shares. That was the position that I made personally. And there's no paid promo here. I'm hoping to work with your team at some point with Hollywell, but this is one of my investments, guys. That's why I brought it to you guys at where I made my entry in right at the dub3 mark. And that's why asking these questions, I appreciate the answers, and I'm liking the answers even more to these questions. So keep going, Roxy.
Again, let me preface this again. I'm not an accountant. I'm not an auditor. I'm not the CFO for this company. However, I know the intricate details of what we're acquiring. Okay. And if you just make a minor assumption of what we can effectuate this year and bringing small amounts of reserves out of the ground of what are in the ground, as well as what we are already bringing out of the ground on oil and gas, and what that would minimally look like as potential cash dividends to our shareholders, the point is there is 3 examples of 3 separate revenue streams that could equate to that type of cash dividend for each stream. Okay. So if we're talking about, let's cut it in half again. Let's say a half a penny dividend for lithium, half a penny dividend for, right, for per share for oil and gas, and then silver. That's a penny and a half dividend on a share right now that you can buy for half a penny. It's a no-brainer. Again, I'm not going to tell people to do, but if I'm going to suggest that, do your own math. Go read everything we disclose. It's all public. Okay. Do their own analysis. Okay. And I just said I based silver at $100 an ounce, and it's probably, I can tell you where it's at in China as of last night. It's $125 an ounce.
Shit.
Okay. And it's not stopping. There is a supply and demand for these minerals. Okay.
Wow.
These minerals are very important for every area of industry now, whether it's AI and chips and EV industry, right? The aerospace and for rockets. We're talking about silver. We're talking about gold. We're talking about lithium. These is the sectors of industry that this company and their capital investors, this is their focus. Okay.
Right on. I know we're winding down on time, but I want to give you a chance just to give the final pitch. I want you to, I want you just have a closing statement to shareholders or potential shareholders. I want to thank you for coming on the show. I plan on seeing more of you, and especially as I ramp up my investments. I'm going to have a lot of answers, and I'm sure people in the community that are buying this are going to have a lot, have a lot of questions, I should say. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on and to address these things on the record. So last message to shareholders or potential shareholders.
First of all, Eric, I love coming onto your platform, and it's an incredible platform. And we're your biggest cheerleader, and we're going to continue to work beside you this year, not just to talk about HIRU, but also HWOL and other companies. We as a company, as a body of great people in the U.S., when we were brought in to help HIRU to really reboot. It was a great opportunity for us, because what happened is that who I answer to, right? Sheikh Khalid Atani, the family, and I helped them wade through all this compliance and public affairs. It really helped us unify, which is what HIRU is now rephrased to be called Amerix. And Amerix is actually has a definition. It stands for, and I want to read it to you, and I don't have it in front of me, but it stands for the bridge between America and the Middle East, energy exploration. And so when I was brought into this company, I'll make this very quickly. If this doesn't send sound waves to the investors, I don't know what else does. When I was brought in, it was at the same time that the royal family of Qatar made a $1.3 trillion investment commitment to the United States. And I received a call from our counterparts a week after that commitment, that U.S. public announcement. And he said that he was getting calls from his colleagues in Qatar. And what they wanted to know is, okay, what public companies in the U.S. should we be buying into? And my colleague said, well, you should be buying into HIRU and HWAL. And so with that being said, that is why you're seeing what you're seeing. And you're going to see the same thing start moving over to HWAL. And I only say that because a lot of these same shareholders I know have positions there. So read our recent news as well there. You'll see the bridge. I'm not on this call to talk about HWOL. We can do that on another call. But it's Absolutely. An incredible, wonderful unification between great countries, and their real interest is to make investments in the United States and other parts of the world, and to do great investments and to offer shareholder value to our shareholders by way of appreciation to the investments of our securities and future cash dividends.
Guys, do your research on these. look up the names. Oh, by the way, I gotta tell you a funny story before you go. So I started looking up the names that have been dropped in these press releases, and I've been looking them up on LinkedIn. And you're gonna laugh. So every freaking time now that I go on LinkedIn, it automatically is Arabic. And so so my whole LinkedIn is Arabic, and I got to switch it over to English every time. So that's how you know when you're doing a little due diligence. It's when your LinkedIn automatically changes to Arabic. So, but guys, do the due diligence. Like she's saying, look at the PRs and start putting 2 and 2 together and put the names together, because like I said earlier, I think that we're just getting started with this one. Roxy, thank you so much for coming on the show, and I look forward to having you back on very soon. And I look forward to your presentations at the BFCVC as well.
We'll be there. Eric, stay warm, y'all. And thanks for your time, guys. And it's always my pleasure, Eric.
You got it. We'll see you.